Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. Special thanks to my producer who's making it happen today, Mr. Logan Landers. If you like the video, please come in and share it. We appreciate it here at 100 Yards of Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Today's videos are 2024 NFL Draft prospect Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice University, and our special guest. This gentleman is very talented. He's coming out of the Rocky Mountain state of Colorado. Colorado High. Bob Denver in the house, baby. The gentleman writes for FirstRoundMock.com. He's one of the best writers when you cover the 2024 NFL draft prospects. The very talented Mr. William Yanish. Welcome to your first day here on 100 Yards of Football. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Definitely, definitely.
Okay, we're
Glad
gonna
to
get
be here.
We're gonna get right to it, man. You say Luke McCaffrey is one of your top weighted wide receivers in the draft. Tell us what you like about Mr. McCaffrey and his strengths.
You know, he's got that name McCaffrey. And 6'2", 195 pounds, and he is probably the toughest wide receiver in this draft. And I just started watching film, the other day on him, and as soon as I turned it on, watched him with a one-handed catch, came down. Man, his helmet came off, and I was expecting to see somebody that looked like, like Christian or something. But man, if he's not his father's son, looks just like his dad, Ed McCaffrey from the Broncos fame that he's in. This guy, coming out of high school, he had some offers, from Nebraska and Colorado State, Michigan, Ohio State, UCLA, and he ended up picking Nebraska because he's a former quarterback, and but that didn't exactly work out. But he switched to wide receiver, and now I mean watching him at Rice University is just something else. He's like I said, he's got to be one of the toughest. He just the way he route runs, runs his routes, and he's only got like it's 4.46 speed in the 40, but the body control that this guy has and the way he catches is just it's just plain fun to watch. He is something else. Not being the fastest guy, he thrives on contested catches. I was watching him at the Senior Bowl or, earlier. They were showing some highlights, and just the way he was boxing out, and just the way he's just crisp coming in and out of his cuts. His hands are second to none, and I watched every game that I could find on him, going clear back to playing quarterback for Nebraska. And this guy put up 2 years ago, put up 776 yards, I believe, and 6 touchdowns. And he was voted MVP by his teammates at the end of the year. And this last year, he just came out and he caught went for 997 yards and 13 touchdowns. The guy he's just a pure football player, and fights for every yard. He's a baby of the family, the baby of the McCaffrey clan. I just got finished with my evaluation of him, and I was just impressed with who he was and who he is. You know, he is automatically the toughest guy as soon as he steps on the field. This guy doesn't run into you, or you don't run into him. He kind of just tries to run through you on every play, and goes clear back to. He was reminding me of watching Tom Waddle in the early '90s for the Chicago Bears. The guy come across the middle and would just flat get laid out, he'd get back up, and he'd go do it again. It's they've definitely got to find him a better fitting helmet too. I've watched his helmet get knocked off like 5 times, and I mean,
when you look at Mr. McCaffrey, the thing that I like about him is that his skill set. I usually give grades on the skill set, and I look at his outstanding ball tracking skills. I give him an A+. His body control, A+. Cuts as a receiver, A+. Able to run routes. The separation. Now he can separate. And not only he's tough, but he can separate. I give him an A+ there. A very violent runner, A+. Reliable hands, A+. Outstanding concentration, A+. What you need from a receiver, outstanding blocker, A+. And then he's got that FBI, what I call Mr. Yanish football intelligence. And that's because he comes from a great family. His dad, Ed, as you just mentioned, Super Bowl champion with the Denver Broncos, and his brother right now, oldest brother's doing his thing with the San Francisco 49ers, Mr. Christian McCaffrey. Then you're looking at the toughness as a receiver, A+. His short area burst, A+. And then, like I say, he has outstanding acceleration as a slot receiver, A+. But most of all, like you said, he started out in Nebraska as a quarterback. Then he played quarterback and receiver. Then he transferred to Rice. In his career at Rice in 3 seasons, the young man had over 131 receptions, over 1,732 yards. He averaged almost 13 yards a catch, 19 touchdowns. He also had 157 rushing attempts in his career for 927 yards, averaged almost 5.9 yards a carry. He's carrying the football. But what I like about him, I always go to game film. Look what he did this year against South Florida. 9 receptions, 199 yards, 22 yards a catch. Then against the University of Houston, 7 receptions, 99 yards, 14 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns. And then think about him going to Rice. Rice has not had a lot of great football players, but they've had some good ones. Dickie Mangle, that came out in 1954. Think about his performance in the Cotton Bowl against the University of Alabama. Then Kenny Hill that played quarterback. Then the young man out of San Antonio, Texas, that played with the Minnesota Vikings by way of Rice University. Mr. Tommy Kramer was a pretty good quarterback in his day. And then Trevor Cobb, there was an outstanding running back. And then when you're looking at all the comparisons that I think about Luke McCaffrey, of course, you got to go with his father, Ed. But he reminds me a little bit of Andy Hamilton that played at LSU back in the day in the early 70s. Was Burt Jones' first cousin and played wide receiver, the great Burt Jones, that played quarterback. Then you got to think about Kim Ragland, who's an All-American at Stanford. Then down here in SEC country, Mr. McCaffrey's got a little Chris Doran, who played at Florida, who right now is a commentary on the SEC network. And then, of course, when you look at his toughness, his work ethic, his pedigree, he's not as fast, Mr. McCaffrey, as this gentleman I'm finna bring up here, but his toughness reminds me a lot of Kirk Gibson that played at Michigan State, who ended up going on playing professional baseball. But when Kirk Gibson was playing wide receiver at Michigan State, he was a 2-time All-American. And of course, when you're talking about ability, when you're talking about able to run routes, he's got a little bit of Chris Collinsworth in him. Giving it back to you, Mr. Yanish, your final words about Luke McCaffrey today here on 100 Yards of Football.
My final words is, like I said, watch him at the Senior Bowl, and I mean he's doing his thing there, and I got a second round grade on him, and I mean it could have been a little bit higher maybe, but I mean, like I said, it's just a joy to watch him, being the toughest guy on the field and just the way he plays, and I think he'll have a long career in the NFL.
If you like,
take a chance on him, and he's just plain underrated.
If you like the video today, please come and share it. We surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards Football. I'd like to give special thanks to our very talented producer, the man. We name him Babyface Nelson here on 100 Yards Football, Mr. Logan Landers. And special guest to our guest today, the Bob Denver of the 2024 NFL Draft, Mr. William Yanish. We'd like to say thank you. I'm Vincent Turner. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of